the $400,000 question. Inside the F-35 helmet. There's a moment before every sortie when a fighter pilot reaches for their helmet. It's muscle memory now. Lift, turn, lower, click. But for the men and women who fly the F-35, this ritual is different. Because what they're holding costs more than most people's homes. $400,000 for a helmet. The number sounds absurd. It is absurd until you understand what's actually happening inside that visor.
The helmet-mounted display system, HMDS for short, doesn't just protect a pilot's head, it replaces the cockpit itself. Think about that for a moment. For 70 years, fighter pilots flew surrounded by instruments, dials, screens, switches, analog needles trembling with G-force, then digital displays glowing green in the dark. The cockpit was where information lived. Not anymore. Now the information lives on the pilot's eyes, projected directly onto the visor. Thermal imaging, weapons tracking, altitude, airspeed, threat warnings, navigation, all of it floating in space, moving as the pilot's head moves. And then there's the trick that changes everything. The helmet can see through the aircraft. 6 infrared cameras wrap around the F-35's fuselage. They feed a real-time 360-degree view of the world into the helmet's display. The pilot looks down and sees straight through the floor, looks left and sees through the wing, looks behind and sees the sky they just flew through. The plane becomes invisible, or rather, the pilot becomes omniscient. It's the closest thing we have to X-ray vision, and it was supposed to be ready by 2007. The Joint Strike Fighter program began with confidence. 3 helmets were proposed. Vision Systems International won the contract. They had experience, they had expertise, they had a deadline. They missed it by 5 years. The first prototype helmets arrived in 2012, and they were disasters. Pilots reported green glow washing out the display at night, jitter where the image lagged behind head movement, a nauseating disconnect between what the pilot felt and what they saw, latency delays, uncomfortable weight distribution, and in some cases, the helmet simply didn't fit. Because every helmet is custom-built, measured to the millimeter, molded to the shape of each pilot's skull. One pilot's helmet can't be worn by another, not safely, not effectively. When your neck is pulling 7 Gs in a dogfight, a helmet that shifts even slightly can cause injury, or worse, distraction. So they redesigned it, and redesigned it again. The second generation helmet, Generation 2, began reaching squadrons in 2016. Better. Not perfect. Still reports of discomfort. Still occasional display issues. Still problems with the night vision symbology. Still latency in the most demanding flight regimes. Then came Generation 3 in 2019. Lighter, faster refresh rates, improved optics, better integration with the aircraft's distributed aperture system, fewer complaints. But by then, the program had burned through hundreds of millions of dollars. Each helmet takes weeks to manufacture, weeks more to calibrate. The optics alone, projection lenses small enough to fit inside the visor, yet powerful enough to create a seamless augmented reality, cost more than luxury cars. The electronics package, the carbon fiber shell, the custom liner, the integration software that translates sensor data into symbols a human brain can process in milliseconds. Layer upon layer of precision engineering, all to answer one question: what does a pilot actually need to know?
Lieutenant Colonel Christine Mao was one of the first pilots to fly combat missions with the Generation 3 helmet. She described it once in an interview. Not the technology, the feeling. Quote, "You stop thinking about the aircraft," she said. "You just think about the mission." End quote. That's the point. That's what $400,000 buys. In older jets, pilots had to choose. Look at the instruments or look outside. Check your threat display or scan the horizon. Manage the cockpit or manage the fight. The human brain can only process so much, so pilots trained thousands of hours building instincts, learning to split attention without losing focus. The F-35 helmet doesn't split attention, it layers information directly onto reality. A missile threat isn't a blinking light on a panel, it's a symbol floating in space, exactly where the threat is. An enemy aircraft isn't a radar blip, it's a bracketed icon at 12 o'clock, even if it's obscured by clouds. The pilot doesn't have to translate data anymore. They just have to decide.
Copy.
And in combat, decision speed is survival speed. But there's a cost to this, not just financial. Several pilots have reported spatial disorientation during training flights. When your eyes tell you one thing and your inner ear tells you another, the brain struggles. Older pilots, those who flew legacy aircraft for years, sometimes find the helmet overwhelming. Too much information, too seamlessly integrated. The instincts they spent a career building suddenly obsolete. Younger pilots adapt faster. They grew up with screens, with information layers, with augmented reality in video games and smartphones. To them, the helmet isn't revolutionary, it's inevitable. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Is this helmet designed for the pilot, or is the pilot being redesigned for the helmet? The military doesn't talk about this much. Not publicly. But inside the squadrons, there's an ongoing conversation about human factors, about cognitive load, about what happens when you give a 25-year-old godlike situational awareness and ask them to make life or death decisions in seconds. The helmet makes them more effective, undeniably, but it also makes them more lethal. And lethality, at scale, changes the calculus of war. So, is it worth it? If you're a taxpayer, $400,000 for a helmet sounds indefensible. The F-35 program as a whole has cost over $1 trillion. That's trillion with a T. The most expensive weapons system in history. Every cost overrun, every delay, every piece of custom equipment adds to that number. But if you're a pilot in contested airspace, the math is different. In 2018, Israeli F-35s flew strike missions over Syria. They encountered Russian-made S-400 air defense systems, some of the most sophisticated in the world. The pilots saw the threats before the threats saw them. They adjusted, they struck their targets, they returned. None of them died. How do you price that? How do you calculate the value of a pilot coming home? The helmet didn't win those missions alone, but it was part of a system. Aircraft, sensors, training, tactics that fundamentally changed what air combat means. For most of aviation history, dogfighting was about skill and instinct. Pilots had to be better, faster, sharper. They had to
Bandit 2 o'clock,
outthink and
engaging.
outfly their
Taking those
opponents
spots.
with
Mark.
whatever
He's
tools they
breaking high,
had.
pursuing.
The F-35 helmet is the moment when we stopped asking pilots to be better. We asked engineers to make them invincible instead. There will be a sixth-generation fighter someday. Maybe it won't have a pilot at all. Maybe the helmet will seem quaint, a relic from the last era when humans still sat in the cockpit. Or maybe the helmet will evolve. Neural interfaces, direct brain-to-aircraft communication, augmented reality so seamless it's indistinguishable from thought itself. Either way, the lesson is the same. War has always been about vision. Seeing the enemy before they see you. Seeing the battlefield more clearly than your opponent. Seeing the future before it arrives. And once you can see everything, the only question left is what you choose to do with that sight.